Well, I just don't know the show. I'm Googling it right now. So
I mean, you're welcome to Google it if you'd like, but anywho, you're absolutely right. This is going to be
before I was born. 1996, Parker. How was I supposed to know?
Michael, you know that it didn't. You know that just because it came out before you were born doesn't mean that it ended. You're looking it up right now. Why don't you answer that question? I was going to say you're looking it up right now. Tell me.
Okay. And last season. Okay, 2007 was the last season, and I don't even remember 2007.
The last 11 years. Anyway,
no.
While you look at the classics, the seminal 90s sitcoms, you know, there was a show called Seinfeld. Friends was a show as well. Let's get into the bands here, because obviously Clubhouse is a map that is going to need some describing. You talked privately, and you talked as well when we were the experts for the Liquid C9 match, about how Hibana is such a pivotal operator here.
Yeah, and she's going to be left unbanned in this matchup. Interestingly, we're going to have a Thatcher and a Hibana for both teams on the attacking half. Now, the Maverick has been banned out. So what this means is that while the Thatcher is in play, there's room for active denial. So like bandit batteries and stuff. You can try and actively stop the attackers from opening a wall because they can't just hard stop you with the Maverick. So this is a very different type of Clubhouse, but it's similar to the Clubhouse we just saw in Liquid versus C9. So this is like, it's not too crazy. It's just different. You're going to see more hard destruction for sure, but you're also going to see more hard denial. The Kaid also managed to be left unbanned, so that will go a long way for the defense.
Now, I don't want to hear any complaining from you viewers.
Well, too bad. You're SOL on that one, buddy.
I was going to say, I don't want any complaining from you in chat, but I realize I need to set my expectations accordingly here. However, what I was going to say was quite simply, I don't want to hear any. I actually lost my train of thought. Oh, no, I got it. Because you threw me off.
Sorry, it's my bad.
Let's just pay back for the Seventh Heaven reference. No, the comment that I was going to make is I don't want to hear any complaints about spoilers, by the way. I want to get ahead of this. If you are watching this back after it's already been done, we're going to talk about games because it matters. And there's another stream going on right now, twitch.tv/rainbow6 Bravo.
Highly recommend.
Want to go over there? Highly recommend tuning out both of them. You can watch both of them at the same time. Not have phones or monitors or multiple iPads. I mean, I've heard that the average American family has at least 2 iPads per person.
How many electronic devices does
Google,
the average American have? 10.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like TVs, radios, a coffee maker is an electronic device, technically.
Okay, how many?
Don't Google this. We have a match to cast. Anyway, anywho, one of the teams in this matchup, by the way, as you can see on the top of your screen, has a skin in R6 Share, and you can go in and you can purchase those for yourself if you'd like. Actually, 2 of them do. Technically, Furia has one as well. It's on the Jaeger carbine. What a shot by Highs to start things off well. Now, for those that tuned in to the Cyclops versus Cloud9 game that happened just an hour or 2 ago, Black Ray had a miserable game, and he was on a roll that you can't really be having a miserable game on. So if he's not able to keep it up, and you've just lost not only a good fragger, but you've also lost a Zofia, you could be in some significant problems already.
Yep. Definitely some dicey waters over here for Cyclops. They will get the hatch open, though, without any serious problems. Electroclaw is hard to hold on that position, and there's no impacts being brought by Lenda. He opted for a C4 instead. The IQ is going to go a long way for Gator in this match, as he's going to be able to, first of all, deny the pre-placed C4 that Lenda had on the ceiling of Arsenal. And further, he'll be able to gather a lot of information on all the pre-placed gadgets that Furia have in the site. So all that information will work a lot of work in the favor, excuse me, of Cyclops.
Just want to comment as well how strange it is to see an IQ get brought here. But I mean, there was also an Ash ban. So, I mean, you could bring a Sledge. You could bring another Hard Breach if you want to. Nice shot, by the way, from Miracle. And now Rare in rare form with Suzu trapped inside a dirt tunnel. Stops my train of thought right dead in its tracks. 40 seconds left, diffuser down in front of him, but he knows that getting it and then being able to pull off and execute is basically impossible. So instead, he'll contend with the jiggle peeking of Rare. Valkyrie
having fun
by the box.
What?
Oh!
Whoa!
He feeds him his own skull!
I cannot wait to see this one on replay. Let's see what just happened. Oh my! Oh! He did. You don't see shots like that every day, Parker.
Oh, you do not. You absolutely do not. That was. Someone's been playing Aim Lab.
Yeah, he's ready and primed. And FURIA take round number 1, not just off that kill, but just after a very well-prepared defense. The early engagements going the way of the defenders, just poking the bear with that aggression by Secret, but that turns into a lead-off kill. Following that, yeah, you got some pre-play C4s that aren't going to work out inside a kitchen, but FURIA doesn't seem to care. They're challenging the holes made above Arsenal. Like, it doesn't matter if they die. And it doesn't seem to matter much, as FURIA wins almost all of those gunfights. Following that, we got dirt tunnel presence, and everyone has to be thinking to themselves, oh, Cyclops didn't have a Montaigne band on them. And as we all know, Cyclops loves Montaigne. But it didn't matter, Parker.
It all started with that first, like I said, that first pick, the snowball onto the Zofia, who, by the way, running a Claymore because nobody else can. This is just such odd composition. Look at the lineup. This is so outside of the norm when it comes to Clubhouse play. Now, obviously Maverick is banned. Ace sees a pretty large pick rate here. Most teams are going to try to force him in. His loss of smokes mean that Thermite, who's already got a high pick rate, is likely going to see an even higher pick rate. And a lot of teams do love their Thermite. Even though strategically it might not make the most sense in a lot of ways, they love it. But to bring a Zofia without breaching charges, often going hand in hand with an Ashe who brings breaching charges. Obviously, Ashe is not available because she's banned, but Sledge is available, and he's not going to get picked yet again. It's just...
I don't know.
The whole lineup from Cyclops just is to me, it's a suboptimal lineup for what we tend to see on Clubhouse. It's not that they can't make it work. I'm not a fan of it just yet.
Wrong wall from Lenda, and the wall gets opened up because of it. That's the tricky bit there. I talked about how the active denial will come into play because there's no Maverick, and it does for FURIA, but I mean, it's such a odd, rusty talent for a lot of players. Bandit tricking specifically just is not relevant anymore. And it's so out of meta because of Maverick that it's hard to make work when you aren't practiced on it. And I'm sure Lenda practices a lot of things. I don't imagine he practices bandit tricking, nor do many people in this day and age. Even though right now we are looking at a Thatcher-enabled Maverick not Clubhouse, it's still such a rare skill. Now, early on, it's going to go the way of FURIA again. Gator on the floor as Black Ray is also eliminated. So it's just, I mean, he's back up now, but low HP. It's decided advantage for FURIA.
FURIA are an aggressive team, but something that was actually talked about earlier, it was on social media, is how LATAM is not as aggressive a region as it used to be. We find APAC tends to be the region that is most aggressive. And I mean, you talk to some of the players that compete in APAC and they'll tell you that each sub-region and each different country ends up having their own style. Nice play there from Aniton. He's now got control of Garage. Up top on Rafters, he manages to not just take out the Jaeger, but also continue to move forward. His main obstacle is going to be getting through this double panel. He'll have to hop on in. Montaigne is very exposed when doing just that. He's got Gator at his side.
Here come those breaches that we were talking about in the pocket of Thatcher, and now that gives you good rotation to play into sight, but you're still kind of exposed there. Anitun's going to have to play with fire as he pushes through, but he can make it happen.
is in the middle of the smoke right now, breathing in those fumes, but he'll trudge onward, trying to isolate the players that are inside of Cache. Now they have no way out through the main door. They'll have to go through the rotate before Anyton has moved off that spot. There's a smoke there, and it'll linger. Another one gets tossed out. Nice nitro cell for them with Cyclops on the kill feed. Answered back by FURIA, who've claimed it as their own, leaving Gator in a 1v2. He'll creep up by the bomb chassis. 6 seconds left. He takes down Fantasy, but it's Miracle left to clutch it out. FURIA takes the second round on a nail biter.
Definitely a closer round than the first one there, Parker. Most of that, though, in terms of how close it was, comes down to Anyton with his solo entry up into Raptors as Montaigne. That is not an easy entry to make work by yourself. No support from anyone on the attack. By yourself, all you got is a shield and a pistol. Anyton makes it work. That gave Cyclops an opportunity. There was no chance they would win that round if he doesn't win that fight. So massive props to Anyton. Even though they did end up losing the round, he gave his team a chance. Apart from that, though, strategically, odd round from Cyclops. I mean, they got the breach open really early on, but still floundering when it comes to where are we executing? What are we attacking? How are we doing it? We've talked about this, or at least I've talked about this briefly before. Cyclops' positioning, their strategic awareness can be a little bit questionable at times. At that last round, I would definitely say that's one of those times.
I mean, for Cyclops, this is a rough entry, as they are obviously not in a position where we're going to call this one immediately. I mean, hey, go back to that C9 match against Team Liquid that literally just ended, and it was a defender's paradise. The defense won all but a single round, and that ultimately is what made the difference. But right now, on all of the matches that we've seen from Cyclops so far, they came close against C9. I don't want to say fellow countrymen, obviously, because they're from different countries. Fellow regional cohorts?
Regional cohorts, I like that, yeah.
Comrades in arms?
Yeah.
May I say that?
Sure.
I will say that in that case. But they struggled against Dark Zero, and for FURIA so far, we're not really seeing anything for FURIA on defense right now that is too weird in comparison to the way that, you know, Cyclops might have to deal with something a little bit different. FURIA right now is making pretty standard defenses, I would say, and it's just Cyclops not droning out correctly, and B, not really managing the clock super well. Those were two things that I noticed over those previous two rounds that ultimately, if you keep making those small mistakes and you mismanage a couple seconds here, a couple seconds there, that's it for the round.
If we're looking at like the history of these teams so far, then of the two, the only one that's really giving me like a shining ray of hope for their success is FURIA. I mean, they did manage to beat G2. It was an 8-7. But a win's a win. They went toe-to-toe with BDS. They ended up losing that one, but still, they brought it to a serious fight. Whereas Cyclops, I mean, they lost against their regional comrades, and they also lost against EZ, as you talked about. If anything, I'm putting a little bit more faith in the FURIA column. But there's no definitive for this one, that's for sure. And I agree with you, the defensive nature of this map is going to definitely play a large part. I also think that Cyclops being allowed to keep their Montaigne is going to be big for them. It already has, even though they haven't won a round. I think Anyton could do a lot of work on this attacking half. If they manage to shave off a couple rounds here and there, it can help out Cyclops a lot.
They've made some significant change up on Cyclops' lineups too, which obviously is going to happen when you're attacking different sites, but also suggests to me how widely they've changed things that, well, this could just be this isn't working, let's immediately make a change. And one of those changes is they finally bring Ace. They're going to double up on Hard Breach in the previous round, but now they will do it again, this time with no Hibana. And the Ace walks in, takes out Fantasy. Fantasy right now, second in most kills for FURIA, and playing on Jaeger, whose position will be to waste time, potentially waste utility, and pick up a set of kills as well. All the while, the advance from Cyclops is coming through construction, and they will watch quite intently, as this is a defense over towards Jim and Master. Rare takes out Black Ray. That's Black Ray again, just falling behind the pace, and it's unfortunate that we have to keep singling him out, but I mean, his performance so far has not really been anything to praise at all. A second member of Cyclops goes down now as Gatorada's taken out by Highs, and the execute will come with 20 seconds to go. At least we think so. Gator now on flank, he'll hit barbed wire and then immediately duel against a Valkyrie. He gets smoked on the stairs with the Montaigne now to trudge in. He's got Suzu with him, but this is going to be tough. Nice shot from Suzu. Looking over towards Weight Rack to see if there's anybody there. Anaton is on the case. He's going to go for it, quite literally on the case. With only 1 second left, he's dropped in diffusers and close enough. The first 3 rounds go to Furia.
Yeah, and I mean, while that one looked close on the scoreboard, it wasn't close in practice. If we're looking at the strategy and the timing and the positioning for both teams, yeah, Cyclops managed to get the lead off. Good for them. They managed cash control as well. That's huge. But with that control, they didn't really manage to do very much, and it took them way too long to do what they didn't end up doing. I don't know. It's weird, Parker, because when you get cash control, what do? You translate that into office pressure and maybe workshop door pressure. But what we saw Cyclops do was just push through workshop door, and that ended up being a meat grinder because they don't have the crossfire because they're not pushing office, which worked against them later in the round where they're getting peeked from office. And I know Suzu won that fight, but the fact that he's not covering his teammate and instead has to be distracted by the flank makes all the difference for Anaton, who has to push deeper into sight to compensate. It's such a weird round strategically for Cyclops when they gain this control that we expect them to gain and then don't translate that into any real execution.
It is a little puzzling to watch, if I'm being completely honest with you. And I mean, there is a lack of familiarity that we will also have with regions that we don't cast. I think every single caster is going to be experiencing that, whether they want to openly discuss it or not. There just simply isn't enough time in the day for us to dedicate the same amount of analysis to a region that we don't do, especially one that operates on a completely opposite time zone of us. So there's going to be small intricacies that we're going to overlook just because we don't have that same institutional knowledge that the APAC or ANZ casters would have from these respective regions. So for us, all we can do is assess on the fly and with the things that we've odd reviewed. And in this case, I mean, one of the biggest voices in our scene is Dizzle, and he is in many ways the de facto ambassador to APAC. His comments were, you cannot take Cyclops for granted. In best of ones, it's like hell in a cell. But that's not what we've seen so far at all. Where is this hell in a cell-like energy coming from? Because it doesn't look like Cyclops are sharp in spear at all. Most of the time, they look like they aren't decisive. It doesn't look like they know where they want to go. And instead of being the team like so many APAC teams are in their region, setting the pace, they are the ones that are often at the mercy of their opponents. We've seen it with Cloud9 today, and now we're seeing it with Cyclops as well.
This has been discussed before. Cyclops have never played like themselves at a global event. Like, they just don't. When they get to global lands, they play like some other team that's unidentifiable from what we expect from them. So, I mean, Dizzle's right. And if you go back on the VODs before the Six Invitational, you look at some of the old Cyclops matches, they do play like it's hell in a cell. They do play very aggressively. They're very unpredictable. You can get caught off guard a lot by Cyclops, but never at an international event. And we've seen teams before change gears to play internationally. It doesn't always work. And I think that Cyclops is a good case study for it not working.
I think that's good to note. And one of the regions that's obviously been hit hardest, I would argue, if not the region that's been hit hardest by COVID and travel restrictions, is APAC. Let's face it. This is a region that after every single major LAN event, they've made huge strides. We saw it with Nora Rengo. We've seen it with Fnatic. Hell, even Mantis FPS when they went by Element Mystic and now by Cloud9. They've made considerable strides as well. So it's entirely possible that as we start to see more LAN events happening over the next year or so, as life returns to as much normalcy as it possibly can, that Cyclops will improve. But for now, today has been a rough day for them.
Now, setting up for the action here in Dirt Tunnel, Cyclops, a very slow round. They've got the Dirt Tunnel open. I'm curious to see what the rest of their attack looks like right now, because we've got this kind of stalemate going on between Miracle and Anaton over here. Meanwhile, the kitchen drop is open, the vertical is established, but Furia are still trying to directly contest it. Cyclops are lining up for a late blue execute, it seems, so this is going to be a bit of a split push.
The very first pick is going to go out to Cyclops, so kudos to them for that one. They've got to dislodge Miracle from his spot inside a Dirt Tunnel, and the Monty is a crucial part of this, but trying to deal with that Montane shield with an SMG-11 is a thankless job. Lenda's going to come up now to try to do some damage of his own, but Heist gets dropped. They're going to need to watch the potential cross. Down goes Lenda, and the kill feed is all for Cyclops. Rare position by Blue, though. He's got somebody next to him. He's losing Miracle, so it's him in a 1v3. Funny enough, Miracle, what Rare is going to need right now to be able to hold off the final 40 seconds that remain, with Cyclops having very firm control of the site. Spotted as well by the Montaigne, who will continue to move on in as Suzu gets that diffuser down. You can see the gunfire coming from Blue as Rare is in, well, probably one of the worst situations you can be in. Doesn't matter what rank you play at, but yeah, this is, I didn't know that bullying was still allowed, but here it is, right on our screen, in front of our very eyes. A Montaigne toying with its food, and I mean, Rare's probably having some fun with it. He knows at this point that winning the round is pretty much over. Perspective of the giant mountain as now a drone goes in to add insult to injury. Black Ray inside of Blue. Could he possibly net the kill here? Will the Montaigne take matters into his own hands? Meanwhile, clock just ticks away. 7 seconds is what is needed, and there's no way Rare is going to be able to get there. He takes out Black Ray anyway, by the way, so at least he walks away with the kill, but there's not much else he can do. He walks right into the gunfire of Suzu, and it was really just delaying the inevitable as Cyclops find their very first round in this map.
Ladies and gentlemen, why to ban Montaigne against Cyclops? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
All right, that concludes the analysis of that round. We can now turn our sights to round number 5 and see that, oh look, Michael, another Montaigne. How strange.
Yeah, I mean, it's super weird to see Anaton on Montaigne. No, it's... We did see, actually, in the last match that Cyclops played against C9, C9 knows better. They banned Montaigne. Everyone should take a note. I know that a lot of people are going to count out Cyclops. We've talked about this ad nauseum at this point. It's expected that, well, whatever, let them do them, right? But seriously, Anaton on a Montaigne is a scary thing, and it's been just proven in that last round. It caused so much grief for Miracle, who is trying to hold Dirt Tunnel. And when you dislodge the player from Dirt Tunnel so easily, especially when Miracle's playing it in an aggro way, where he wants to maintain control and deny the drop and deny the objective play as the smoke, and when it's so easy for you to push that out without losing a single body, that's a problem for your defense. So definitely get rid of that Montaigne. The answer here for Furia, they'll bring a clash, and there's one other very interesting thing happening on Cyclops' lineup.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Well, it ends up working out. By the way, I think the Zofia is going to be used appropriately this time. They've switched things up. They've got Black Ray off of the fragging operators. I don't know if that was intentional, but with his stats today, and I hate to harp on one player. We talked about bullying in the previous round. Well, I know that some fans can get quite upset when we focus on a single player and their performance. But with what CAG need to succeed, Black Ray has to simply be better in his role. As does Aya Gator, by the way, Aya Gator. So, I mean, it's not just an issue with Black Ray. They moved him onto more of a support-oriented role with Aya on that Zofia with breaches in hand. But regardless of what the rest of the team does, the centerpiece is going to continue to be this Montaigne.
And the other interesting thing is the glass on Gatorada. We don't really see those very often. I'm curious how it's going to affect the round. You've got a lot of smokes here, 3 sets of smokes. So assuming Gatorada does not die, he is going to be very powerful with that kit. Now, the rare clash in Dirt Tunnel, that works in 2 different ways, you see, because his name is rare, and also because it's rare to see clash played at this level.
The shield versus the shield. What was it? What event was it? It was Raleigh, I think. I'm pretty certain it was Raleigh when Mint was on Clash and another team was on Montaigne, and they were battling each other, and the crowd went absolutely nuts. If somebody wants to correct me on the history of that, they're more than welcome to, but I'm reasonably certain it was back during the Raleigh Major. It was still nice to see. The Battle of the Shields. Who wins?
Well, right now, Clash is winning. I mean, if you take a look at the HP on Anaton, you can see that his is low, and it's getting lower as Rare continues to zap him.
Of course, electricity channeled through that shield, so Anaton's now been bled out about half of his HP, and he's going to try for a firefight as his teammate, the Glaz of Gatorado. We've seen a little bit of Glaz play so far. And just the very first kill. The pistol, by the way, pulled out by Rare. Takes out Anaton. So there goes your Montaigne. He's not going to be able to do much. Nice shot from Gatorado, who's just hunkered down inside of Blue.
Now, with the man advantage secured for Cyclops, they now find themselves in a great position to just execute however they want to. No motor control, though. They got a force for that, and Highs is going to stop them. Furia gets the kill. Suzu will though, so Cyclops not letting the man advantage slip away. Miracle and Rare in a 2 versus 3. Try and hold this one out. No gas canisters for Miracle. So a lot of pressure on Rare to keep his gun up and be supportive in the last 20 seconds as his execution comes out. EMP will disable the shield in all likelihood, assuming he didn't get out of the range in time, but no, he did. And that's huge. But from behind, Gatorada gets an impactful frag, taking down Rare, leaving just Miracle in the 1 versus 3, making a 1 versus 1, and he somehow survives the cross. 1 second left, and that's all that they need. Furia, another round by the skin of their teeth.
How did he make that vault and not die to the thermite?
No idea.
What kind of mechanical movement skills does a man need to be able to get out of that scot-free? I thought the moment that he was mid-vault, he was as good as dead, and I was absolutely incorrect. A hero play on his behalf. Extraordinarily well done. And honestly, a mighty fine round from Cyclops as well. The win from Furia on round 5 is going to mask the fact that Cyclops were very well coordinated and used their operators to the full potential. The only downside to that round was Anaton dying inside of dirt. I don't think the game plan was to have your Montaigne get buried inside of the escape tunnel. I'm almost certain he was doing some form of zoning work when he gets to the actual site to stop the defenders and funnel them into the line of sight that the Glaz and Blue had. But all of Cyclops' setup was designed around allowing that Glaz to be perched inside of Blue and pivot from both sites to cut down any possible retakes while the diffuser got planted. And it was a pretty sound strategy right up until the end.
Yeah. Interesting round to be sure. I really do think that should have been a Cyclops round through and through. Like, they had everything going for them. And this is something that we saw also in the Team Liquid versus Cloud9 match, if you recall. So many rounds where Cloud9 had everything going for them. No real chance of losing. And then they somehow manage it. You know, part of that is also Furia, though. So, you know, credit where credit's due. Well played to them.
Oh, this is the final defense for Furia. They've already taken it 4-1. It is impossible for them to lose this half, so we'll see exactly if they can further their lead or not. If you look at the lineups that have been brought, by the way, there has not been a single lineup for Cyclops that has remained the same. These are 6 unique operator lineups on attack thus far, and it's hard to exactly pinpoint the thought process behind it. As I'd mentioned earlier, it could just be that they're trying to adapt to different bomb sites, or it's also possible that they don't like what they're seeing and they're making adaptations on the fly. If it's the latter, they haven't exactly made the changes that they need because they are still coming up short in a number of these rounds.
This is going to be an explosive entry here from Cyclops with the blitz, and so far it hasn't really worked out. It's a back and forth, but it looks like it's going to keep going that way until finally... Nope, neither team managing the advantage. It's an even exchange at 3-3 on the rush-in from Cyclops. There's still good site control here, though, for Furia. The only thing they've really lost is Raptors. Without Raptors, they don't have the crossfire. They're going to have to take these direct gunfights. And the big thing is that Cyclops has half of the round still to slowly, methodically execute.
They're going to try to waste down the utility that's still remaining right now. How did that nitro cell not kill him? That was right at his feet. Somehow the luckiest man alive right now is Gator, as he'll watch from red as Suzu goes for the plant. Falling off, great shot from Fantasy. It's real life, not quite fantasy. They don't know where the thermite is positioned, though. They know that he's off the diffuser, so that information is theirs, but Furia are looking quite strong. 1 minute to go. Everything rests on the attack on this one, and Suzu, who's was top frag for a period of time, is going to need to find 2 kills or play off the objective. But here's the task in front of him. You've got a deployable shield with Fantasy behind it. He's just going to wait and die and get peeked by Lenda. I don't know who swung first, but it doesn't matter. Furia takes that round, and with it, the first half is in the books 5-1 for the Brazilian team.
Honestly, not even looking close at this point for Furia. They are on top of the world, but one big caveat here. That was the defensive half for Furia on Clubhouse, which is been a very defender-sided map so far through this tournament. I think the entire group stages, I think you could safely say it's been Clubhouse has been pretty defender-sided. So that's not surprising for FURIA to take that 5-1. Very difficult recovery here for Cyclops, but it's doable. I do think that they can manage it, especially with the bans we have. The Maverick can be super debilitating for a team that's not used to it. But it was FURIA who did ban the Maverick, so they probably they're probably very used to it. I'm sure they'll be fine. I don't know. In general, strategically, it just seems like FURIA is a little bit more sound. But it's easy to say that about a team on defense because defense is easier to set up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It is simply easier to be strategically adept at a defensive round.
Yeah, this needs to be said every single time, but if you are banning an operator, it is almost certainly done with the understanding that you're going to know how to play without it. It's not like all of a sudden you're like, wait, hold on a second, we banned Maverick? All of our strats involve that.
We need Maverick.
I want to touch back upon opening duels, by the way, because this obviously, over the 2 matches that you and I have casted, have actually not been anywhere near as meaningful as they usually are. When we talk about opening duels in a game like Rainbow Six, not only are you forfeiting a body, but usually with it, you're losing the drones and the intel that comes with that if you're on attack. On defense, you're losing your gadgets and possible denial. If a smoke dies, it means a lot. And having to play at a deficit in a 4v5 is almost always a fatal blow. The stats range anywhere from 70 to 80% victory for the team that gets that first pick. Well, don't tell that to Cloud9 in their matchup against Cyclops because Cloud9 was running away with it and still needed 11 rounds to put the matchup in the books. Right now, over the last 4 rounds, Cyclops had the opening tool every time. Gatorada in particular got the first blood 3 of those 4 times, and they only won 1 of those rounds. So this shows to me that either these teams are too brawl heavy, where they are just simply going for frags and the kills are coming in at the dying moments, or they're getting the opening pick because they've either been surprised or they don't know what to do next. And when I say don't know what to do next, Anaton right now has intel, swings onto Miracle, swings onto the Hibana as well of Fantasy, missing out on both of them. And the first pick goes to FURIA, and it's pretty much unchallenged.
Yeah, the really funny thing about that, Parker, is that you were talking about surprise, and Anaton had the element of surprise. He had everything. He was unknown in cash, which is mostly FURIA's fault. I mean, obviously he's playing Vigil, but still, that's just embarrassing. Oh, God. He missed the C4. It mostly FURIA's fault, but he just shouldn't. He missed a bunch of shots. Anaton missed a bunch of shots, and the opportunity that was presented to him just as quickly disappeared. You don't need 6 Xkyros to open up a drop. Fantasy, you only need 4. A little bit of a wasted utility there, but that's not a big deal. They'll be fine. They do have the man advantage, and it's starting to get even more extreme as Fantasy puts 2 kills on the board, trying to answer for his 2 wasted Xkyros. It seems he wants this to be over a lot quicker than Cyclops do.
In defense of Gatorada, I believe that was a peek for intel. I don't think that was a direct confrontation unless they happened to make a call in a nanosecond, because that was a very, very fast repeak given the information that was at their hands. Here goes the Echo. This could be a flawless round for FURIA. It'll be a dagger through the hearts of the fans of Cyclops. Now, Black Ray can't make anything happen. He's in a lot of trouble, though, and he gets gunned down from multiple angles. And there's only 1 round to go for FURIA to put this one away.
Yeesh. All right. Well, a pretty routine execution there from FURIA. They start upstairs, clear out the roamers. Now, the roamer clear actually should have been punishing Parker. Anaton had complete broadside of 2 players, and he just whiffed. Complete surprise on those players, too. But he just whiffed. So, leadoff kill for FURIA. They managed to get 1 of the roamers. The answer back from Cyclops is to try and throw a C4 that misses. And then they fall back to site. And as they're falling back to site, they make it back, but then they start peeking for information, as you said, Parker, and more bodies hit the floor for Cyclops. And at this point, it seems like the hard breach doesn't even matter. So who cares if we used 2 extra Xkyros on a drop down? You don't need to open anything else. Heck, you don't even need to use that drop down to win the round if you're Furia, because there's only one player left on Cyclops now. And he's in Dirt Tunnel. So I don't know.
It's a mismanagement of utility that doesn't go punished, and that's the most glaring thing to me, is that Furia, by a lot of regards, got extremely lucky. Going unchecked. Aniton missing a heads-up fight. I don't even want to call it a gunfight. He had the drop on the Hibana in construction, a fantasy, and he whiffs and then re-engages after those gunshots have gone out, and he gets repeaked from a much stronger position outside. Then Fantasy, who's still alive at this point when he shouldn't be, doesn't use the correct amount of X-Kairos. And I know that people will say, or at least speculate, oh, well, maybe he just used all 6 because he's worried that they're going to get impact. Absolutely fair thing to say, but I don't think that's likely. I think it was just a mistake that was made in the heat of the moment. But both of those things could have very easily buried Furia if they were playing against a better team. And I hate to say that, but right now, Cyclops are not playing like a team that can punish mistakes that Furia are making.
Oh boy. There's a Valkyrie cam above that spot too, so that's the ultimate rat spot. You got assistance from your team. Whoever's watching the Valkyrie cam will be able to call for you to spring out and get into action. I really want to see if that works, because Furia have been struggling with their drone work. They've been missing a lot of different things, so potentially that could go undroned. Especially considering, I believe that is a mute, so he's probably got a lot of jammers around him as well. We'll find out, but right now, Furia aren't even putting any pressure on Cash, so it hasn't been a factor. And no, they checked, because there he is. He's dead now. That was the guy in the rat corner.
Look at the position of where Fantasy was. He was all the way out in factory, warehouse, ruins, whatever people want to refer to it as with their different regional calls. How does he get a pick from that far away? That's the real question. That's what I need to ask, but it goes from bad to worse for Cyclops, because now they have surrendered yet another pick, and it's a 5v3 for Furia, and Furia sit on match point.
Yeah, I mean, this has been impressive play from Furia for the most part. I mean, they're making mistakes, yes, very small mistakes, but they are, and you would expect them to be punished, but they haven't been. And all the parts where it's relevant, the points of contact, where Cyclops are trying to engage Furia, you know, they are working out in favor of Furia. I mean, what is that? Gadarada just peeking around in sight. He goes down. Down goes Black Ray as well. It's just Suzu with his entire team's dreams in his hands. And he'll have to deal with the whole lineup of Furia in a 1 versus 5.
He's got information. Those black eye cams are still up. Rare going for the diffuser down, and, well, at this point, whoever finds Suzu, it's a mercy killing, at least for him and the rest of his team. He takes one with him. Down goes Fantasy. Still 4 members of Furia are upright. They know that they had him pinned down inside of logistics, and while there's only a couple ways out there, manages to find another, though. Down goes Highs. Is this winnable? Has this suddenly fallen into the lap of Suzu? He'll be able to make this work for his team. The answer, right now, no, it's not. Lenda finishes him off, and it's 7-1.